On November 1st, 1925, 100 years to the day from the date this video is being uploaded, the Yamanote Line as we know it opened. While the line had existed in various forms for nearly 40 years up to that point, it wasn't until 1925 that the circular route opened for passenger service. And since that date, the Yamanote Line has become arguably the most famous train line in all of Tokyo, with an estimated 4 to 5 million passengers every single day. That's like squeezing the entire population of Los Angeles onto a single train line, and still being able to include the weekly traffic for LAX every single day.
For me, the Yamanote Line is a big part of what makes Tokyo, Tokyo. And without it, the city would look completely different. Whenever I'm on a call with my friends or family back home in the US, and I tell them I went downtown, I mean the areas served by the Yamanote Line, places like Ueno, Akihabara, Shinjuku, Ikebukuro, and so on. So, what better to do than to celebrate this momentous occasion by taking an in-depth look at the Yamanote Line. My name is Adam, and join me as I explore the past, present, and future, and show what exactly makes the Yamanote Line tick.
Now before we get started, I just want to say that if you like this video or find yourself coming back here, please consider leaving a like or subscribing to my channel if you want to see more content from me. Or, if you want to support my channel directly, consider becoming a member. Members get extra perks, like having their names in all of my videos. Your support really goes a long way in helping me create more videos that you want to see. On February 28, 1885, the Yamanote Line looked like this. Look, give Japan some slack. They'd only opened up to the world about 30 years ago. But the next day, the Yamanote Line looked like this. At this point, the line wasn't called the Yamanote Line, but rather the Shinagawa Line, connecting Shinagawa Station along Tokyo's waterfront to Akabane Station in the north of the city. You have to understand that at this point in history, districts like Shibuya, Shinjuku, and Ikebukuro, which today are economic centers, weren't all that important. The eastern part of Tokyo is where the old city of Edo was, not the hillier west. But if you build it, they will come. And boy, did people come to these new districts. Just after the turn of the century, in 1903, a new branch line of the Yamanote Line opened, connecting the brand new Ikebukuro Station to Tabata Station in the northeast. Plus, because the Tabata line sat on the much more important Tokaido line, once the line was electrified in 1909, commuters could continue on the Yamanote Line all the way to Ueno. At this point, the line looked like a giant letter C, or a Pac-Man if you're feeling creative. But there was a problem. Because Eastern Tokyo was the urban center of the city, building a new rail line to connect Ueno to Shinagawa would be difficult, to say the least. So while more stations popped up all over the Yamanote Line, there was a nice big hole that remained unfilled. But as they say, life, finds a way. In 1914, Tokyo Station opened for business, and 5 years later, Kanda Station would follow on the Chuo Main Line. At this point, there was only a 2.5 kilometer gap that needed to be filled. And it wouldn't be long before that would happen.
In spite of the Great Kanto earthquake just 2 years prior, on November 1st, 1925, a section of elevated track, just like the one you can see behind me, opened between Kanda and Ueno stations, completing the Yamanote Line loop as we know it today. It is also on that date, November 1st, 1925, that loop service on the Yamanote Line began for the first time, meaning you could ride the line in a circle for as long as you wanted to, if you wanted to. And since that day, the Yamanote Line hasn't changed all that much. At least not geographically. In fact, only 2 new stations have opened on the Yamanote Line in the nearly 100 years since the loop line was completed. Nishinipori Station back in 1971, and then this station that I'm currently at, Takanawa Gateway, just 5 years ago.
In 1956, the Yamanote Line was separated from the Keihin Tohoku Line, as the two had previously shared tracks between Shinagawa and Tabata stations. In 1971, the line's name was officially changed from the Yamate Line to the Yamanote Line.
Now apparently some elderly people in Tokyo still call the Yamanote Line the Yamate Line, but to be honest, I don't interact with enough elderly Japanese people to verify that statement.
The next year, the line from Ikebukuro to Akabane was split from the Yamanote Line, becoming the Akabane Line, and fully establishing the Yamanote Line as we know it today. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, the Yamanote Line became one of the busiest train lines in all of Tokyo. During the peak transit periods, trains would run at over 250% capacity at points. If you've ever seen the footage of the smartly dressed, white-gloved station staff pushing commuters onto trains, that was the Yamanote Line in the 90s and 2000s. But because of more frequent trains and new transit options, current ridership is only at 150% capacity during the peak times.
So what does the Yamanote Line look like today? Well, the line has 30 stations over 34.5 kilometers, taking roughly 1 hour to go around the entire loop.
These 30 stations are, in order, Tokyo Kanda, Akihabara, Okachimachi, Ueno, Uguisidani, Nippori, Nishi-Nippori, Tabata, Komagome, Sugamo, Otsuka, Ikebukuro, Mejiro, Takaranobaba, Shinokubo, Shinjuku, Yoyogi, Harajuku, Shibuya, Ebisu, Meguro, Gotanda, Osaki, Shinagawa, Takanawa Gateway, Tamachi, Hamamatsu, Shoshinbachi, Yurakucho. Trains start running at 4:30 in the morning, with the last trains taken out of service around 1 a.m. the next day. During peak periods, so between 7 and 9 a.m. and 5 and 8 p.m., trains run approximately every 2 to 4 minutes.
Now, if you are curious, the average Yamanote Line station receives 650 total trains a day. That's both clockwise and counterclockwise, or about 34 an hour or 17 an hour every single way, so one every a little under 4 minutes.
If you're riding the Yamanote Line, you'll see the trains listed as either outer or inner loops. The outer loop trains run clockwise, while the inner loop trains run counterclockwise. Because the line runs in a circle and doesn't have an endpoint, you'll hear the trains as being bound for 2 of the next 6 major transfer stations along the loop line.
So for example, if you are here at Ebisu, even though the signs in the station will say it is bound for Shibuya, Shinjuku, and Ikebukuro, it will only be announced as being for Shibuya and Shinjuku because those are the next 2 major stations that the Yamanote Line will encounter.
Furthermore, the Yamanote Line is incredibly well connected, providing links to over 10 different private rail carriers and every single Tokyo Metro or Toei subway line. Plus, there are links to both Haneda and Narita airports, as well as all 3 bullet train stations in Tokyo also receiving Yamanote Line service.
Now, if you're looking for exact passenger numbers for the Yamanote Line, it's unfortunately a little hard to find them. If you're at a station like here at Shinjuku and you touch in on an IC card, you can use any one of the 8 or so JR lines here. It's believed that the Yamanote Line gets about 4 million passengers a day, but of course that can't be corroborated.
And also, according to JR East, this is not the Yamanote Line. This is. If you were to ask the average person what the Yamanote Line is, they'd say it's the green trains that run in a circle around central Tokyo. But, according to JR East, the Yamanote Line is the rail corridor that runs between Shinagawa and Tabata stations. The Yamanote passenger line is included in this, as are the Saikyo and Shonan Shinjuku lines, which run on the former Yamanote freight line tracks parallel to the Yamanote passenger line. On the other side of Tokyo, the stretch of the Yamanote Line that runs between Tabata and Shinagawa isn't referred to as part of the Yamanote Line, but instead part of the Tohoku and Tokaido main lines.
So despite what JR East might say, if you ask me or many of the other people that live in Tokyo, the Yamanote Line is the jolly green train line that runs around in a circle of the city that we call home. So how exactly is JR celebrating this momentous occasion? Well, throughout the month of October, JR has been running some special promos along the Yamanote Line.
There's a stamp rally, where if you visit 6 stations along the line, you get a nice little paper with a picture of the Yamanote Line on it.
This is my version of the stamp rally card that took me the greater part of a day to get. But to be honest, it's pretty cool. At least in my opinion it is.
Some stations are also giving out merchandise to celebrate the occasion. I got this button in 144p from Shinjuku Station for buying a Tokyo Day Pass. And most important for the train enthusiasts out there, JR is running 2 special liveries for their trains, which mimic the design from the 60s all the way to the mid-2000s.
Now, unfortunately, these promos are only scheduled to last until November 3rd of this year, which is kind of unfortunate. Because if you, my dear viewer, are not already in Tokyo, you're unfortunately not going to be experiencing anything that this promotion has to offer. But what about the future of the Yamanote Line? Takanawa Gateway opened 5 years ago, so clearly there must be more expansions coming to the line, right? Well, the short answer, probably not. Long answer, well...
If we take a look at the Yamanote Line, the average station is just over 1.1 kilometers away from the one next up the line. The 2 largest gaps are on the complete opposite ends, with a 2-kilometer gap between Shinagawa and Osaki, and a 1.8 kilometer gap between Ikebukuro and Otsuka. So if we're going to build a new station on the Yamanote Line, it'd probably go there, right?
Well, you see, there's an ancient Japanese proverb for a situation like this. It goes, "Ie o kawasanai de kudasai," which, when translated to English, roughly means, "Please don't destroy my house."
The Tokyo that the Yamanote Line was originally constructed in is not the Tokyo that exists today. The areas all around the line are flanked on all sides by shops and homes.
The only reason there was room for Takanawa Gateway Station is because the area that the station currently sits is formerly part of a JR East rail yard.
So, if a new station were to be built, you'd probably have to destroy a few hundred livelihoods in order to do so.
Of course, if you really wanted to, you could find space for another station, like this lovely park that I find myself in. If you wanted to tear down this park and maybe part of the buildings around it, you could squeeze in a new station about 3/4 of a kilometer south of Shinagawa. But I mean, this area is nice, so personally, don't. But also, do you really need to when Shinagawa and Osaki are so close to each other anyway?
Something more promising than a new station, though, is automated trains. In 2022, JR East announced that they would be beginning trial runs of driverless trains on the system, with full driverless trains being in operation by 2028. If this system, dubbed Automatic Train Operation, or ATO, is introduced, the Yamanote Line will be the first JR East line to introduce driverless trains, and will follow the trend of other major rail companies in Japan introducing some form of automated train control on their networks.
Maybe if automatic train control is implemented, it'll help reduce congestion. Of course, the Yamanote Line isn't running at 250% capacity like it was 30 years ago, but maybe a train coming every 2 minutes as opposed to every 2.5 minutes during the peak periods will help ease congestion. Or it'll just induce more demand, like adding an extra lane to a freeway. Just one more train, bro. I swear, just one more train will solve all our problems. Just one more. So on this 100th anniversary, here's to you, Yamanote Line. May you continue serving those that live in and around Tokyo or visit the city for many more years to come. It's only a shame that you can't enjoy the birthday cake I got you. That's good. Well, the trains can't eat it, so I will. With that all being said, thank you all so much for watching, and thank you for riding with me today. Take care, and goodbye for now.